ancient form of energy that goes back to the dawn of time. For us, it all begins with the sun, the source of light and life for our entire solar system. Even Einstein concluded that everything we're made of contains light. All life originates with the sun through photosynthesis. Plants and vegetation collect the light, and all living creatures emit light. Humans actually emit infrared light, which can be seen with night vision devices. We've known for centuries that light has many effects on the body. LifeWave's phototherapy patches use light to stimulate the body's natural healing systems, providing specific health benefits. Here's how the technology works. First, a patch is applied to specific points on the body. Where the patch covers the skin, infrared light emitted from the body is reflected back into the tissue. This stimulates the skin, which in turn stimulates specific regions of the brain. The brain then taps into the body's own natural flow of energy and the ability to heal itself.
Just want to talk about Big Daddy Trump. Big Daddy Trump is going to town, brought those B-2 bombers in and took out the Iranian nuclear program. At least 80-90% of their centrifuges were taken out. And I don't believe the hype, all that CIA disinformation, mega, woke. Mega's gone woke, which is wrong. We lost half of our mega people over this Israeli battle. And, Trump did the right thing. He stopped a country from building nuclear weapons, and they probably had a dozen of them. And what most people don't notice, and I noticed, Jaco noticed this, remote viewers noticed this, that there were multiple earthquakes at 10 kilometers, 5.0 Richter scales, all around Fordo and all the dump sites. So I believe, just a theory, that they used some kind of Space Force DO weapon that went down there, created electromagnetic energy, and blew up some of those nuclear bombs down there. So however they did it, they created earthquakes, and then they hit them with those bunker busters. So Trump did a good job. 12-day war is over as soon as we came in and bombed them. The Iranians were on their knees, basically. So I think Trump did a good thing. Ready, Max? Go. So where are we at now with the war? Zelensky is talking with NATO. He's actually dressed in a shirt. He didn't have a tie this time, but he's begging NATO for more patriots because he's getting his butt kicked in Ukraine. But Ukraine was a diversion, I believe, in a way for Russia to get them out of the way so that Syria could be taken over. Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Iran. This is a 7-day nation, 7-country nations that Wesley Clark talked about 20 years ago. And sit, Max. Sit down. So we have World War III has been bypassed thanks to Trump. Trump changed our trajectory, changed our future, because these are 2 nuclear power countries, Iran and Israel. Also Pakistan and India, 2 nuclear power countries. And I got to say, Trump saved the day. No matter what people say about him, I still respect my president. And I'll salute Pete Hegseth and Trump for an excellent operation. Midnight Hammer was a success. Here's a couple clips from South Front Telegram. Hope you enjoy. What are you doing over there, Maxie? It's hot out, isn't it? Yeah, it's hot.
The ongoing NATO summit in The Hague has underscored the shifting dynamics within the alliance and its approach to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Despite Zelensky's efforts to secure stronger support, Ukraine found itself sidelined during the official proceedings. While Zelensky attended a welcome dinner and participated in a group photo, his attempt to join the formal discussions was blocked by 4 member states: Hungary, Slovakia, the US, and, unexpectedly, Turkey. This exclusion highlights the growing reluctance among some NATO members to deepen their involvement in the Ukrainian crisis. The summit's final communiqué notably omitted any reference to Ukraine's irreversible path to NATO membership, a phrase that had been included in previous declarations. The Hungarian foreign minister confirmed that no decisions regarding Ukraine were made, whether on further military aid or political backing. Zelensky's request for an additional 150 billion euros in assistance went unanswered, leaving Kiev to rely on bilateral support from individual nations rather than collective alliance commitments. The central focus of the summit was not Ukraine, but rather the contentious issue of increased defense spending. U.S. President Donald Trump has been pushing NATO members to raise the military budgets to 5% of GDP. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte framed this as a necessity to counter a militarized Russia, which has significantly ramped up arms production since the start of its military operation in Ukraine. Meanwhile, tensions within NATO were further exacerbated by Trump's ambiguous stance towards Russia. The alliance scrapped plans to adopt a new strategy, explicitly labeling Moscow as a threat, opting instead to avoid provoking the U.S. president, who has repeatedly expressed reluctance to escalate confrontations with the Kremlin. A planned NATO-Ukraine Council meeting at the leadership level was also cancelled. Amid these developments, Ukraine continues to face relentless Russian offensive on the front lines and strikes on rear infrastructure. Despite Western-supplied air defense systems, Ukraine's ability to repel these assaults remains limited. In a dangerous and controversial precedent, the UK announced it would fund a new package of anti-aircraft missiles for Kiev using interest from frozen Russian assets. As NATO navigates what it assesses as the most severe internal crisis in decades, the alliance's future hangs in the balance. For Ukraine, the summit's outcome signals a harsh reality. Western support is becoming increasingly conditional, and the path to NATO membership remains more distant than ever. With Russia intensifying its military pressure and NATO preoccupied with its own existential debates, Kiev faces an uncertain and perilous road ahead.
Bellicose rhetoric from NATO and European leaders suggests that Russia is preparing to attack the alliance, with warnings of an imminent war within the next few years. However, this narrative is not based on credible evidence, but rather serves political and economic interests. Russian President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly dismissed claims of an impending attack on NATO as absurd. He mocked the idea, asking, "Have you lost your mind? That's utter nonsense, just scare tactics for the public." He continues constantly emphasizing that Russia has no imperial ambitions and is focused on its own security, defending itself in Ukraine. Instead, Moscow highlights that Western leaders use the Russian threat to manipulate public opinion to justify military spending. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte recently struggled to explain why he believes Russia will attack the alliance within 5 years. When pressed by journalists, he offered vague statements about concerns and forecasts, but provided no concrete evidence. His response is boiled down to, Russia might attack or it might not, but we must prepare anyway. This uncertainty highlights a key problem. NATO needs an enemy to justify its existence. Without the specter of Russian aggression, the alliance's purpose becomes unclear. Meanwhile, European leaders are amplifying fears by warning of Russian hybrid warfare, cyber attacks, and even nuclear threats. The constant warnings of war serve multiple purposes, including military-industrial profits, EU unity through fear, and the justification of continued support for Ukraine. Increased defense budgets benefit arms manufacturers, with NATO pushing for 5% defense expenditures. Today, European warmongers are threatening their populations with Russian Goran UAVs, justifying their need for a 400% rise in air defense systems across Europe. While accusing Russia of irrational aggression, European leaders ignore their own militaristic tendencies. France, a nuclear power with a history of interventions in Africa, is never labeled as irrationally aggressive. Poland and the Baltic states, which harbor deep anti-Russian sentiments, are never scrutinized as potential instigators of a conflict. Moreover, Europe's rapid militarization, including hospitals for mass casualties, stockpiling armored ambulances, and reviving Cold War-era bunkers, suggests preparations for war, not just defense. The Russian threat narrative is a convenient tool for NATO to secure funding, maintain relevance, and suppress dissent within Europe. Yet the lack of credible evidence and the contradictory statements from Western officials reveals a manufactured crisis. Rather than preparing for an imaginary invasion, Europe should focus on diplomacy and de-escalation. Otherwise, the fear-driven policies of today may lead to the very conflict that they claim to prevent.
After its war on Iran ended with a sudden ceasefire, Israel appears to be preparing for its next big battle in the Middle East. Israel started the war on June 13th, stating that its goal was to cripple Iran's nuclear program. The US joined the war on June 22nd, attacking 3 key nuclear sites in the Islamic Republic, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. The Iranians retaliated with a symbolic attack targeting the American El Udeid air base in Qatar with a few missiles on June 24th, just a few hours before a ceasefire was announced. While the success of the attack on Iran's nuclear program is still being debated, Israel has already begun to escalate on other fronts. In Lebanon, on June 24th, Israel bombed rocket launchers and weapons depots of Hezbollah north of the Litani River, where the group is allowed to deploy under a ceasefire brokered by the U.S. last November. The very next day, an Israeli drone strike killed Hathem Abdullah Bakri in the town of Kfar Dajjal. The Israeli military said that the man was involved in transferring funds from Iran to Hezbollah. Escalation was also reported in Syria, where 2 large blast-rocked weapons depots, one in the district of Meza, to the west of the capital Damascus on June 24th, and another near El Sin Lake on the coast on June 25th. State media said that the first blast was the result of an exercise, while the second was caused by a fire, but footage posted to social networks suggests that they were very likely caused by Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, the Israeli military took a blow on June 24th when 7 of its troops were killed after their armored vehicle was blown up by Hamas in the city of Khan Yunis. Doubling down on its ongoing large-scale offensive in the Palestinian enclave, the military announced on June 25th that it was withdrawing the 252nd Reserve Division from central and northern Gaza and replacing it with the 99th Division. Overall, Israel appears to be preparing for its next big battle. While Gaza remains a priority for Israel, the fate of the remaining hostages there will likely force the Israeli government to prioritize talks for the time being. Israel could, however, resume war on Hezbollah as a follow-up for the attack on Iran. A new attack on Syria can't also be ruled out despite the ongoing talks with the country's interim government. Israel will likely attempt to weaken Syria even further in order to extract even more concessions in any future peace deal.
Yeah. 101.1.